Krayzie Bone was a very curious little rabbit. He always wanted to find out what lay beyond the boundaries of his home, the forest. As such, one day he decided to take the risk and ventured beyond the forest. Unfortunately, he was captured by a group of hunters who wanted to make a pet out of him. He was brought into a world where he had no freedom. He was kept in a tiny cage in the corner of the room and was fed very little food. Krayzie Bone tried his best to escape, but the hunters were always watching him. He was starting to lose hope until one day he saw a small opening in the window. He quickly jumped out of the cage and without looking back, he ran as fast as he could. He was running so fast, but he suddenly felt the ground shaking beneath his feet. It was an earthquake. Although he was very scared, he kept running. He eventually made it out of the forest and reached a familiar place. However, he soon realized that something was wrong. The sky was gray and it felt as if the sun was hiding from the world. Krayzie Bone figured out that he had been away for too long. He had lost track of time. He was so scared of what had happened. He tried to make sense of the situation, but nothing made sense. He had no idea what was going on. He headed back to his forest, but this time it was not the same. Instead of the lush green trees, there were only charred remains. He couldn't believe what he saw. His home was destroyed. He was filled with guilt and sadness. He wanted to find out what had happened, but soon realized that it was too late. He was too late to save his beloved home. He decided to move on and find a new home. He traveled far and wide, but everywhere he went, he encountered more sadness and destruction. Everywhere he looked, he saw destruction and despair. Krayzie Bone was heartbroken and he started to lose hope. But then, something amazing happened. As Krayzie Bone was walking through a dark forest, he heard a voice calling out to him. This voice gave Krayzie Bone hope and courage. He followed the voice and eventually came across a small community of rabbits. The rabbits welcomed him with open arms. He was no longer alone and he soon found a place where he belonged. Krayzie Bone was finally happy again. He was safe in his new home and, even more importantly, he was surrounded by love. He made sure to take care of his new home and family just as he had taken care of his old home. He continued to explore new places and soon realized that the world was full of beauty despite the destruction. Krayzie Bone had finally learned to live in the present and to embrace every moment for what it was. He was living life on his own terms and he was determined to make the most out of it. He shared his experiences and stories with his new family and they all learned something valuable from him. Krayzie Bone was now the center of his own little world and he had finally found peace. He was still as curious as ever, but this time he had learned the importance of being aware of the risks.